If everybody's ready, we're going to call this meeting to order. I'd like to say welcome. It's nice. It's really nice to see everybody here in the gallery tonight. It's nice to see so many people, and I want to say welcome. Bienvenue à tout le monde. That's a sound we've missed. Just want to remind people that this is being live streamed. If your phones are on, maybe if you could think about turning them on silent or on vibrate, just so that there aren't any interruptions throughout the meeting. And it is really nice to have everybody here tonight. We have no regrets. All of our council members are here. Number 2 on the agenda, we have an invitation to stand and move. So anytime anybody on council feels the need to get up and move, I don't know where you're going to go, but you can get up and move around. That's always on our agenda. Number 3, we have the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions for the agenda this evening?
Yes, I have an addition.
Okay, can you put your mic on, Mademoiselle? Councillor Surratt?
Yes, I have an addition for number 12, the community grant request. I have one more request to add.
Okay, a financial request, 12B. Is everybody okay with that? Financial request. And then I would like to add on the agenda as well, under for decision, 10K, I would like to add, how can I say this? Sympathy card, sympathy basket for a volunteer member of our organizations. So we'll talk about that when we get to that. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah. Okay. Can I have somebody make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendments, please?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Bourque, seconded by Councillor Foster. Any questions on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Conflict of interest declaration. Does anybody have a conflict of interest to declare tonight? Okay, seeing none, remember you can declare conflict at any time for any agenda item, whether it's now or during or before that item, you can declare it at any time. Next, we have a presentation, Astrotourism and Light Pollution. We have Tim Doucette here tonight to speak to us, and we also have David Salos. So I'm going to ask you, when you're speaking, if you could press your mic, and we will have you speak. Thank you. Go ahead.
We good? So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening about the importance of the dark skies and a little bit about my background. So I'm here as the chair of the UNESCO Southwest Nova Biosphere Region Association. And I thought I would just share a number with you I just got the number today. It has to do with the projects that we are coordinating and the total value of those projects by the time they're done by 2031. And it's over $11 million so far, and that's since 2022. So, and we went from having, I want to say, a budget that depended entirely on municipal grants and small funding to something like this. And this astrotourism and the importance of the dark sky has something to do with it. So our reason for being here tonight is to talk a little bit about protecting the dark skies. So since 2014, the Starlight Foundation, that is supported by UNESCO, the International Astronomical Union, and the World Tourism Organization, has worked to preserve night skies around the world. Argyle, Clare, and Yarmouth are home to the first designated dark sky destination in North America. And it has the recognition as the Acadian skies in Mi'kmaq lands. Because we grow up here, we usually take this for granted. It costs us nothing, but if we don't pay attention to it, we are at risk of losing it. The value of dark skies is expanding in the tourism world. Astrotourism is expanding across the globe. It provides environmental protection. The influence of light pollution is often underestimated. It affects life in the ecosystem, but it also affects people. So there's a public health connection to it as well. It's connected to energy efficiency by reducing the amount of energy we're using, and it can also assist in protecting our cultural and scientific heritage. Yarmouth and Acadian shores have been promoting the importance of astrotourism here within the Yarmouth area, and that dark sky designation that we received it's significant. People are paying attention to it. You'll see the quote there from Yarmouth and Acadian Shores. Astrotourism is an emerging niche within sustainable tourism, offering destinations worldwide the opportunity to attract visitors interested in astronomical experience. By providing exceptional views of dark skies and minimizing light pollution, destinations can enhance their tourism potential, contributing to sustainability goals and increasing tourism revenues. And so we're well positioned. This municipality is well positioned to take advantage of the value of those dark skies. As I say, they cost you nothing when you get them, but there could be a cost if we don't maintain them. So I was on a call yesterday with the UNESCO Education for Sustainable Development branch, and it had presenters from around the globe speaking of some of the initiatives that they are doing in their area with regard to different things. There was one from Finland, there was one from Brazil, and there was one from Namibia. And it was really interesting that one of the first things the person from Namibia was speaking of was they were the first dark sky destination in Africa. And their comment was, this is the thing that people remark about most when they come and visit. We've got that. They can do it in Namibia. We can do it here. So it means there are some things we need to pay attention to, but it's certainly within our grasp to do that. So I'll leave that and I'll let Tim take over.
Thank you, Dave. My name's Tim Doucette. I am the owner-operator of the Deep Sky Eye Observatory out in Quinnen, and I'm also the president of the Starlight Development Society, which is a society that we've created in order to support the Dark Sky Initiative from the Starlight Foundation. So what is light pollution? Well, light that shines where we don't want it or don't need it. And about 80% of the people in the world cannot see the Milky Way because there's just too much light in the sky, or there's too much pollution in the air from factories. 65% of the people that have come to the observatory have not seen the Milky Way. And that's a big percentage. We have people from around the world as far as Australia. I don't think there's a country that we haven't served yet. We have people that have come here, and I ask them, you know, people from Australia even, I say, how did you find us? Well, my tour guide, or my tour, not my tour, my travel agent told me about it. So we're known already. Over the years, you've got millions and millions of dollars that are wasted on energy that's shining out into space. I have here a picture of Quinnen. Same camera, essentially, same lens, different time. 2015 to 2025 on this one. This is the view, the light pollution from Yarmouth and Tuscan. So you can see the difference in 10 years. Going on to the next slide. That little ball of light above my parents' house there is the light pollution from Argyle. And a little bit to the right, you'll see a little bit more light pollution there as well. That odd color that you're seeing on the horizon is all from the South Shore area. So, dark sky friendly lighting. Our solution is pretty simple. Put shielding on lights so that the light is shining where you want it, not just arbitrarily just firing everywhere. Pick the right color. Stay away from blue and white. Always go with warmer colors. Amber is best, amber or yellow. Blue light is bioactive, means it affects humans, plants, and animals. You want to pick the right brightness. Ask yourself, how much light do I really need? It's really easy now because we used to be able to go to the store, get a 100-watt light bulb or a 50-watt light bulb, and we knew what we were getting. Now we have to think in terms of candle power, of how much light instead of how much power it uses, because, as you know, LEDs are so much more efficient. Go to the store and get yourself a 50-watt LED light and see what it does. I can guarantee you can light up your entire neighborhood. There's an example up there of retrofitting lighting and how much better lighting is better security. You're avoiding shadows. Putting stuff on motion sensors and timers, and also being kind to both your neighbors, both human and animal, is really important. We need to get all together, not just Argyle, but the town of Yarmouth, the Municipality of Yarmouth, and the Municipality of Clare. And we start to, we have to include all the stakeholders. Next week, we're getting together with the town of Yarmouth. We've come up with sort of a plan on how to attack the light pollution in Yarmouth. We'll be meeting with the planning council, the town planners, I should say, and we'll, come up with something that's really, useful. We need a representative from this council to be part of the Starlight Development Society in order to make sure that, we have representative from each one of these important communities. So engaging with the Starlight Society to help manage light pollution, but not just light pollution, but also education, because this is a big part of it. We need to educate people, and we've been doing that at the observatory, we've been doing that on different levels, but it really needs to be pushed out to the community on a grander scale. We want to establish policies, best practices on lighting, and how to have sustainable lighting and responsible lighting. I took a trip to Hawaii a couple of years ago, and my mind was absolutely blown on how well the docks were lit. And they were not encroaching on anybody's, even out when you're out to sea, you'd see a couple of, the lights where the docks were, but that was it. When you got to the docks, it was great. You could see beautiful amber lighting everything up. You didn't need 100 million thousand candle power lights to light up the docks. That's just an example. Parking lots were the same thing, lit with beautiful amber lighting. No cut shadows, not blinding people. So in the short term, that's what we're trying to do. Bylaws are important. Education is important. We all have to be on the same page, or this is not going to work. In the long term, we're looking at trying to get other certifications. And in some cases, we're already 3/4 of the way there. The International Dark Sky Association and the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada have various programs and certifications that would help elevate our community to that next level. We've created a website, Nova Scotia Starlight, with some information. And we've also come up, we're starting an advocacy plan. Neil McKenzie from Yarmouth and Acadian Shores was supposed to be here tonight. He sends his regrets he couldn't make it, but he really wanted to be here to talk about what we've accomplished and how we're building an industry here in Nova Scotia that is sustainable tourism. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. You're good too. Go ahead,
I was just
Dave.
going to say, when we had an exchange with kids from Boston, it was a musical exchange, had nothing to do with any of this. They went outside and they said, "What are those?" I said, "What are you talking about? What are those? What am I seeing?" I said, "What do you mean, what are you seeing?" "Stars?" They'd never seen stars before. Wow. That's how important this stuff is. So you can imagine.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Dave. Excellent presentation. I love the way that you started off with an observatory, and now it's grown. You have your camping domes. It's evolving.
The trick is, we started this project and it was kind of like, let's see where it goes, right? But we're at a point now where we have to make a decision. Do we continue to expand or do we have to stop? Because we've lost 2 magnitudes of stars, right? In 5 years, are we going to be able to claim that we have that designation? The Starlight Foundation is aware of what is going on. And, they're prepared to be part of the discussion on how to help us manage this a little better as far as the whole Southwest Nova is concerned.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from council? Councillor Foster.
I have more of a comment than a question. I always thought I lived in deepest, darkest Nova Scotia, but apparently not. I've had some complaints about light pollution in Lower Surretts Island, where apparently the lights from the wharf in Morris Island are affecting the dark sky in Surretts Island. There's an island in the Eastern River, Lower Surretts Island, and as far as I know, I haven't been on the island in recent years, been there before, but there is a B&B, an Airbnb on that island, and people go there to observe the night sky. And guests have complained about light pollution. And there's question as to whether they find it difficult to see the night sky the way they would like to. And there's question as to whether the lobster cars ought to be lit up during the summer. So those are things that have been brought to my attention. I haven't had a chance to deal with these things because I've got a long list of things to be dealt with. But just to make council aware that I don't know if other councillors are getting such issues in their districts, but I was surprised to hear that one, to be honest with you. So education is key. A lot of these things that you talked about, that both of you talked about this evening, I was not aware of. So this was a very educational presentation for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tim.
Just mention, and there's so much to it, and it's not a complicated solution. It's being able to, we now have a bylaw officer that can, that has some enforcement capabilities to basically say, hey, you've got light that's shining on the road. Here's what you need to do to change it. Here's what you need to do to fix it. So again, it's fixable. It's unfortunately, if you don't catch people before they're building something, it turns out to be a retrofit project and it's more expensive. So the more we can push out the education right away and make everybody aware of what our community, one of the values that we support as a community, the better, the more better off we'll be in the long run. And something simple like using amber lighting, you can tell people that, hey, if you use an amber light on the front of your house, it's going to attract a lot less bugs than a white light. Something simple, but that's just an example. That might be selling it around here, especially out in Wedgeport there too, eh? Ooh. Thank you.
Thanks. Deputy Warden?
Thank you. Great presentation. You mentioned that you're approaching the neighboring municipalities. What is their interest like? Are they all in for this?
Well, they were all in 2014 because they all contributed a fairly large sum of money to get this certification. So the Municipality of Clare, Argyle, and Yarmouth, were very much on board for it. Now it's time to regroup and to find out what that interest is on those other committees. But from what we can tell so far, they're in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they should be, because if this is going to work, I think you need to be Southwest Nova.
Yeah, we already have people that are doing experiences in the astrotourism in Yarmouth area and the municipality. We also have some out in Clare. So, you know, it's something that we just need everybody to be on that page to make sure that we promote it all together as, you know, as our municipalities grow and the town grows, that we don't have to worry about it as much, right? Thank you.
Thank you. CEO Muse?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to give an update on, from the perspective of bylaw. So, excellent presentation, gentlemen. And I've known Tim as long as I've been alive, I think, and he's always about 8 years ahead of his time. So nothing has changed. So I just, and he will give me gentle reminders of the fact that additional bylaw support is required. So we do have some bylaw supports in your land use that state that when you construct new, you have to do it such and such a way. But that doesn't change anything that's already in existence. So the grandfathering of those lights exists. A land use bylaw cannot change that, right? But so what we're about 85% complete on, thanks in part to the help from Tim and his team, is what's called, and we have presented a draft to the previous council, but there was a lot of work to do before we could bring it back. And it's called a light pollution bylaw. So legally, we had a question. I promise I'll be as brief as I can be. So we had a legal question about whether or not light pollution is considered a nuisance. So municipalities had never seen that before. And the answer is, or at least the legal answer is that yes, it can be considered a nuisance, much like noise or any other nuisances that you might have. And so we do have noise bylaws and other things that reduce or at least try to control or temper noise. And this is not much different. It's not that you can't have lights, right? And that's what Tim has taught me many, many times over and over, is that you have to have the right kind and it has to be aimed in the right direction. And so there's security, and then the flip side of that, of course, is commercial industry in particular would be very concerned with the safety risk of not having lighting, right? So it's not about eliminating the lighting, it's about right-sizing the lighting, and ironically, they might actually be able to save money in the long run if they had a lower powered, lower kilowatt hour effective lighting system. There are a lot of things out on the market right now that we're currently analyzing. We're I'd say about 30 days or less away from presenting this in final form to you. There's an educational pamphlet that needs to go out to community as well. And we understand that when people, you know, like in terms of education around this is a brand new thing. Like, I learned a lot from Tim in our many conversations. So I just want to let you know that soon enough, there will be a revised bylaw for your attention and for your consideration, but there really needs to be an education push. And Argyle can do that, but we also know that we're not the biggest polluter. And so we have to be mindful that our partners, if they're in, that's useful as well. So if we do a good job with this bylaw, we'll be surely sharing it with our partners, with the municipality and the town and the municipality of Clare. So I just want to give you an update on that and the fact that Tim is gently prodding me to complete the work.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Tim.
But it's still green.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm glad that the CAO made the comment about the aiming of the lights. Quite often, apparently, this can help the situation a lot. That is one of the things that was suggested to me by the people with the concerns in Lower Surrett Island, that if the aiming of the lights were adjusted, the slant of the light could make a big difference.
Right.
It could still provide the lighting for the people who need it, but it would reduce the pollution of the night sky in Lower Surrett Island. So I'm glad that Anna made that point. And maybe Tim or somebody could speak to that point about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Anna, for mentioning that. But yes, absolutely. The direction of the light is really important. And what you want to do essentially, for a simple way, is you just want to avoid having that light shining past your horizontal plane. So instead of having it just kind of at an angle pointing this way, just point it down. Oh, sorry. And, you know, I want to go back one step. You mentioned the bylaw. we talk about being, leaders in environmental, Argyle's had some firsts, right? Argyle's had some firsts. We're the first, I think, municipality in Canada, I believe, to have a net zero building. If we have bylaws that protect our environment, that would actually be a first in Canada as well. So, and once we get the partners involved with it, and to spread the education as well, we definitely will set the pace for other municipalities in Halifax, Yarmouth, everywhere. There's different areas in Nova Scotia that have already approached me who are interested in, creating education and, regulation around, the light pollution for different reasons. Maybe not just not protecting the night sky, but protecting the birding, migratory birds. There's various reasons. So Argyle has a really incredible opportunity here. And the publicity could be pretty awesome, too. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Tim and I spoke shortly after the election and about making a presentation because I said we had 4 new councillors coming in, so I thought it would be important. We've heard the information before from Tim, but it's always good to have a refresher, and I thought the new councillors, it would be an opportunity for them to know as well. And we have a huge gallery of people here tonight, Tim, too, that you were able to give your message to, so that worked out really well, too. So, yes, go ahead.
Say one more thing. Getting the designation is good.
one
Keeping
thing.
it
Yes.
is difficult. So Southwest Nova is recognized by UNESCO as one of a number of, well, there are only 19 biospheres recognized by UNESCO in Canada, and we are one of them. We're one of the largest ones. It includes the 5 southwestern counties. Every 10 years, you go through a periodic review, and you have to show that you're still meeting the standard, or you were deregistered. So the same is true for the Starlight Foundation. Getting it's one thing, keeping it's another. And I think, like in this area, this council is the leader on looking at dark sky bylaws. So thank you for that. Thank you for what you've done, and thank you for what you're going to do.
We have one. We have a question from Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you. Dave, you just sort of piqued my interest there. Do you have the numbers? First of all, when is the review up again? And what is our numbers like, or how is our rating right now, in your opinion, compared to when the designation came?
So the Starlight designation, that's a Tim thing. The UNESCO designation for the biosphere is 2027. So we were designated, so here's what happened. The UNESCO designation of Southwest Nova happened in 2001. In 2011, core funding for a staff person was cut, but that was the year for our first periodic review. We were on probation from 2011 till 2017. 2017, we succeeded in getting redesignated. That had to do with negotiating with the provincial government to establish a buffer area around the core protected area in the biosphere. So for information, to be a UNESCO biosphere, you have to have a core protected area. For us, that's Kejimkujik and the Tobiatic Wilderness Area. Negotiation with the provincial government allowed us to consider the crown lands around that as the buffer zone. That made UNESCO happy. It doesn't mean nothing happens in the buffer zone. It just has to happen in a different way so that it doesn't damage the integrity of the core. So 2017, that was established, and then so in 2027, we get to do this all over again. It'll be my first one. We'll see how it goes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for these two gentlemen? Okay, seeing none. Tim, I have one last thing. You said you needed a member from council on your committee. If you could send us a quick note, just letting us know when do they meet, the times they meet, that kind of thing, and we can make a decision as to who would be interested in joining your committee, that would be great.
Perfect, will do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next. Yeah. Yes, we now have 2 more chairs. Okay. Okay, so we are at number 5 on our agenda, the adoption of minutes. So our minutes from our February 27th, 2025 meeting, our Executive Council meeting minutes. I assume you've had a chance to look at them. Are there any errors, any omissions? Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
Ironically, it shows I wasn't here.
Oh,
But I did make some motions, and to make a motion, I guess I had to have been here. So I just want
Okay.
to add my name to the
Absolutely. That
council
makes-
members present.
that makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It happens. Is everybody okay with that addition to those minutes? Okay, so those minutes are adopted with the amendment. Thank you. Next, we have number 6, recognizing Argyle, council announcements. Are there any councillors who have somebody that they would like to recognize? Councillor Burke, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Board. On late February, I had the honor to attend to, in Digby Pines, a recipient of the King Charles Medal. She invited me to go with her, and it was Cassia Miro, so I congratulate her for her success in receiving this medal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Digdon.
Thank you. Just got a couple of congratulations, I guess, and thank yous for tonight. I'd like to say first, thank you to Gordon Amiro, who has stepped down after 25 years as fire chief for the West Pubnico Fire Department. He's still on the department, so he stepped down to West Chief after 25 years. He's put a lot into that department and done a lot for the community. So I'd like to say thank you to Gordon. I'd also like to congratulate Devin D'Entremont, who has taken over the chief position. And I'd also like to thank Gordon Dion, who has retired from the West Pubnico Fire Department after 60 years. So that's quite an honor in itself, really, 60 years. And over the years, he's held many different positions, one being fire chief. So again, thank you to Gordon. And last but not least, I'd like to congratulate Ingrid Dion from Middle West Pubnico, who became the new president for Constellé Acadien de Paramba. I've known Ingrid for years, and I know that she will put in 110% in her new position. Bravo, Ingrid.
Thank you. Councillor Madden.
Yes, on the same topic as Kathy, I'd like to acknowledge Denise Babette. Denise received the King Charles Coronation Medal as well. It's awarded to residents from Digby and Yarmouth for their contribution to their communities, as we all know. Denise is a member of the CSAP School Board since 2020 and has dedicated her time to Dial Insight Circle and Smiles for Canada. On a personal note, Denise is a very positive individual and always smiling. So congratulations, Denise, and you all know her, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Boudreau.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I want to wish the staff and the teachers at the Wedgeport School, they had a public opening there and everything went well and school looks great. So good luck to the teachers and staff.
Thank you. Deputy Warden Sonia.
Thank you, Warden. I too, I was invited along with our warden here to a presentation of the King Charles Coronation Medal to John Grattan from West Pubnico and to Yolande Donaldson from Quinnen. And very deserving people. Glad I was there and glad, I'm sure the warden was glad she was there. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Also, I gotta remind people that, I don't have to remind people actually, we had a long, hard winter. And in the middle of that winter, I call it, we had a mini ice age where everybody's driveway got really badly iced. And we ran short of salt. You couldn't find salt nowhere. And Kerr Anthony of K. Anthony Enterprises, Landscaping, who does not reside in my district or municipality. However, he's right on the edge. And he took it upon himself to give free sand to anybody who wanted it to put in their driveways, which, in my opinion, saved a lot of tumbles. And I want to reach out to him and say thank you. Kudos to Kerr Anthony for that. Last but not least, the Plymouth Hall. They've done a lot of work. This is kind of like a congratulatory and an announcement. The hall is open, doesn't have a kitchen yet, but it's open for business without the kitchen, but it's fine. I want to congratulate especially the volunteers, Mike Scott, who's here, who spearheaded the whole thing. Thank you very much. It's a great accomplishment. Oh, there's Mona. And anybody who wants to book anything, contact Mona. She's the go-to person. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll continue on. Next, we have number 7, my report is attached. If there are any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll continue on. Committee reports. Anybody have anything they would like to report on specific committees? Go ahead, Councillor Bork.
Thank you, Warden. I just want to mention that I attended the Nikhil meeting, and they had mentioned that, well, they've been working on the new bus. They need a new bus at Nikhil. So presently, they have raised $13,000. Their goal is $200,000. So, and if anybody wants to donate towards this bus, it's be well received. And they have a website that with all the information, and I guess they have a very interesting story on their website about the bus and all that. So if you want to go check that out, that'd be nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just want to give some updates in regards to a few of the committees that I'm on. First, I'll touch base in regards to the airport. We have currently just gone through a large SWOT analysis, and the board has recently taken that analysis, and we've broken down the main recommendations, and we've actually rated them. So although that probably over the last 6 or 8 or 10 months or so, there hasn't been much coming out of information coming out of the airport, I think you're about to see a lot of information coming out to the public on different things that are going to be taking place. We certainly think that there's great opportunity for the airport coming up, especially with maybe part of the situation south of the border. And again, I think we have a dedicated team there that's really looking to move things forward. Regarding the Mariner Center, just give a brief update in regards to that. They've obviously gone through a few changes there over the last little while, and we're currently in the process of looking for a new leader at the center. And with that, there's been, again, some changes in regards to some of the boards and some of the committees there, but the individuals that we have on there are very dedicated and very knowledgeable and very confident that things are going to go in the right direction. Regarding YASTA, first off, I want to congratulate them. They're going to be relocating to the area across the street, so which is great for us here. They have they've done quite a bit over the last little while, and again, they're getting ready for the upcoming tourist season. Obviously, with the things again with south of the border regarding tariffs and the words that are taking place between the two countries, we're not 100% sure on how tourism is going to be this year, but I think it is something that we still need to concentrate on. And I think for the most part, with the exchange rate of what it is, I think hopefully we will have a positive season. So those are just a few of the updates that I wanted to bring forward tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, we'll continue on. So we are at number 9, 7-day notice. We don't have anything under 7-day notice for this evening. Number 10, for decision and discussion. So 10A, we have Article C50, Council Procedural Policy. So this was on our agenda at the last meeting for 7-day notice. So there are some amendments, a couple of amendments to the policy. One of the amendments was about presentations and the fact that once a presentation is done, if sometimes there are financial requests, in this case, there's a request to have a council member join their committee. Any requests that they make, we wait until the next meeting before we make a decision, so that requests are pushed to the next meeting. That was one of the changes on here. Anything else? If council feels okay with the changes and they don't have anything else that they would like to add, we could pass this, we could make a motion to pass this policy tonight with the amendments. So what is the wish of council?
I will make that motion.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Seconded by, so it's moved by Deputy Warden Saunier, seconded by Councillor Surratt. Any questions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. 10B, Article C6, public presentation. So again, same thing. We changed some of the wording. The beginning of that policy, there was a question around some of the wording about the lobbying of other councillors, so the wording is tweaked. And then we also added about the public presentation, just exactly what I said in our procedural policy. How does council feel about the amendments to this policy? Are they ready? Do they feel ready to make a motion to approve it with the amendments? Okay, it is moved by Councillor LeBlanc. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Foster. Are there any questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Next, we have C, new Article C55, Internal Controls Policy. This one was also one that we looked at our last meeting, so this has to do when it comes to auditing. This is a policy put in place to ensure that all the right controls are in place when it comes to an audit, just to make sure that we're protecting ourselves. So we had a look at this policy last meeting. How do we feel about tonight? Do we feel like we're ready to move this policy? Okay. Okay, so it's moved by Councillor LeBlanc that we move the internal controls policy, seconded by Deputy Warden Saunier. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Next, we have D, new, the Article C56, credit card policy. So this is a policy for any person who is authorized to have a credit card for the municipality. Again, it's about protection and making sure that things are done correctly. We saw this policy for a 7-day notice last week. Questions or comments? Deputy Warden Saunier.
Thank you. I just wonder, who's or certified to have a credit card CAO?
Go ahead.
Through you, Madam Chair, typically credit cards are held by department heads as well as the CAO. There are exceptions to that. For instance, there may be a credit card held by a staff member in the senior safety or recreation that has a lot of purchases that they are required as part of their day-to-day operation. So so there's approximately, this is an approximate number, I would say about between 6 and 7, perhaps even 8 available credit cards. All of the credit cards have a total individual credit limits as well as a total credit limit. And each limit is different depending on what their purchase powers might be. The warden is also provided a credit card. Most of the credit cards that are used for travel purposes and also for IT-related purchases that may have to be done online. We try to avoid transactions out of convenience for credit card because credit cards, by their very nature, don't have a pre-authorization. If you have a credit card, you can use it, right? So the only control on a credit card transaction is the aftermath. And so we do have strong controls on the aftermath, but we do want to make sure that people understand how to utilize these cards and how not to utilize these cards, because we see instances in all sorts of different organizations where, well, there may be a personal transaction, well, I'm going to pay it back, and like those are just no-goes, and we have stringent rules around certain types of expenses that are strictly forbidden. So we're tying this policy in with other policies that we have in the municipality.
I read the criteria, I just wasn't sure who and who was responsible to have these credit cards. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the question. And how do we feel about this policy? Okay. Okay, so it is moved by Councillor Glenn Digdon to move our credit card policy, seconded by Councillor Bork. Any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Next, we have 10E, ADA, Councillor Malcolm Madden. At our last meeting, Malcolm Madden made notice that he was going to make a motion here tonight. So, Mr. Madden, the floor is yours.
I have it on.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Madam Warden, Council, and thank you to the gallery for being here. First, I'd like to address you as a resident of Argyle and not a councillor. As most of you know, I reside in Neilbrook, I have a retail business there, and I was a councillor from '08 to 2012. My reason for sharing this information is to establish my interest in the community and in our municipality. I've been speaking with and dealing with oyster farmers on a regular basis. I knew that they wanted to expand their business in the Salt Bay, and I even attended consultation meeting at the SAR Club, Club Acadien. At some time, I became aware that the municipality was getting involved in the agriculture movement. I remember asking Councillor Muse about the involvement of this municipality. I do believe he mentioned that it would be good for the growth of the municipality. I asked him if there was any money being invested, to which he said no. Now, understanding how the municipality receives their revenue, our involvement in the agriculture industry didn't add up to me, personally. So let's fast forward a few years, a couple of elections later, where I was a candidate every election. Still, I'm establishing my interest in the local government. In 2020, in the 2020 elections, the agriculture subject did not come up, and I knew nothing about ADA. Now, keep in mind, I'm surrounded by oyster farmers. In the spring of 2024, before I heard about ADA, it was not my intention to be a candidate for the upcoming election, but here I am. As you all know, being in this council, you have access to far more information than the public. You depend and trust that all the information you receive is fact. According to the past council, you believed that the municipality had done adequate engagement with all involved. After reading most of the very impressive 93-page local engagement report, I can understand how DFA and all the other interested parties agree with council. Yet, the public know little about ADA. I'm going to start with the pop-up sessions on page 11 of the engagement report. I don't know if you have it, if you've read it. Passing information at a retail establishment, in my opinion, is not a reliable source of providing important information to residents. First of all, when I go to a store, I'm focused on why I'm there and probably have to go somewhere else to make my purchase. But after my purchase is done, I think you can all relate to this. Secondly, if you're giving me information at this venue, I'm not going to take it seriously. And thirdly, I'm not about to debate with you at this time because I don't have enough information to do so. Now, the thing that bothers me the most about this exercise is I have a retail establishment in an agriculture center. The only information I received is a Taste of Nova Scotia magazines featuring tourist attractions around Nova Scotia, provided by oyster farmers. No information on ADA yet. On page 15 of the engagement report, it states that an open house was held at the Glenwood Hall. The reason given for that location, it stated that it was a central location and convenient for interested individuals to attend. I'm involved with the local social club in SAR, the Club Acadien. Our CAO mentioned on several occasions that the new fire hall would be situated in the center of our communities. The new fire hall is less than a half a kilometer from the club, so that's central. No request was done to rent the club. On page 16, there are pictures of open houses in the Glenwood and Tuscan. These pictures have no people in them, and if I want to show that an open house was successful, I will show a picture of a room full of participants. To my knowledge, there are no sign-up sheets available to show who attended these open houses. So time to move on to the campaign trail. Immediately, I had to talk about agriculture situation. I knew I would have to address the situation, but did not include it in my brochure. Often I was confronted with the issue. My response was, I'm not against oyster farming and the farmers trying to improve their business, but in how this municipality put out the information. Secondly, I still could not see a benefit to our taxpayers, my opinion. Of course, this subject was most prevalent in Eelbrook, SAR, Rocky Point, and Abrams River. Some residents in District 6, Central Argyle, Roberts Island, also approached me with their concerns. I talked to a seaweed harvester that operated from the wharf in Rocky Point. Nobody had approached him about any expansion of aquaculture farming. Ran into some swimmers from Abrams River that the waters they swam in was contaminated. I talked to some pleasure boaters, which is also in the report that they were talked to. An oyster farmer had approached them and asked them to cancel a planned event in Lee Lake that involved boaters from outside areas, something to do with invasive species. So now I'm elected. How am I going to handle the ADA situation? Well, here I am. The first few weeks were very busy, as all councillors know, with new councillor orientation, the Mariner Center, Waste Check, meetings with department heads, and so on. Nothing on ADA. At one point, I asked about orientation on ADA, and I was informed that DFA would make the presentation to the new council at a future meeting. At that meeting, we found out that 6 sites are being reviewed, and that as soon as they know who the successful bidders are, we would know. So while listening to the presentation, I recalled that the subject of a few handfuls of residents was opposed to the Argyle ADA. That didn't seem to be a problem. I informed them to the contrary, and that the reason I was in this chair was because of the discontent of those residents. One incident that comes to mind, while DFO mentioned that they didn't believe there was a problem, I asked them about the Abrams River swimmers, and I call them Abrams River swimmers, I don't know what they call themselves. But they wanted the water tested because they had issues with irritating sores on their body after swimming. Nobody wanted to assist them, and they were told they would have to test the waters themselves. Didn't we test the waters for the Argyle aquaculture business? I realized at that time that DFO knew about the problem. I truly believe that all parties involved did not do proper consultation with residents that would be most affected by the business park at sea, as you refer to it. Very little was done to advertise open houses. In fact, not much information was shared until Association for Responsible Aquaculture, ARA, was established. At this time, we saw the municipality do damage control, and it seemed that there was a contest to who could get the information out there faster. I can be corrected. I don't mind. While attending a new council orientation in Halifax, just to know that I was listening, a presenter spoke about changing your mind was not admission of doing or making a wrong decision. He also mentioned he had done so while being in office. This presenter was former mayor of HRM, the Honorable John Savage. Council, over 300 residents elected me to be their voice in council. That's what I'm doing tonight. If we're going to do a pilot project, let's do something that benefits all residents. And one thing that comes to mind is a walk-in medical clinic in Tuscany, for example. That would benefit a lot of people. Now, because I truly believe that the engagement report is not adequate and does not reflect the concerns of our residents, I now want to make a motion that we send a letter to DFA asking them to pause awarding leases to all 53 sites until proper public consultation is completed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for the motion?
Point of order.
You can do that?
No.
I didn't think so. No seconder for the motion?
Point of order.
The motion is not before us at this time, so we will continue on with the agenda. This is a meeting of council.
I think under the rules of, Robert's Rules of Orders, if you would check with your CAO and perhaps your council, any member can rise to a point of order and be recognized. Doesn't have to be a member of the council themselves.
Go ahead.
So I would answer that by saying that points of order are restricted to those that are a member of the meeting. It is up to the chair whether or not that she wishes to accept a point of order outside of the members voting here tonight. Point of order is always followed with a reason why there is a point of order. A point of order is a question of procedure. It's a question of procedure. So it is up to you whether you want to entertain that or not, madam. Technically, a point of order must be followed with a reason why the procedure was not followed.
Can I ask for the reason and then decide?
That is up to you.
Okay, what would be your reason?
Madam Chair, whereas we feel you're in conflict of interest in regard to the motion put forward and have not declared such under the Section 15 of the Municipality Conflict of Interest Act and also Article C1 of your Code of Conduct for the municipality, we feel you should be declare that and step away from the table for any comments.
Okay, thank you.
My only comment is it's up to you to declare a conflict of interest, a personal conflict of interest. However, there has been no decision made on this table. If that was a point of order, it would be on a decision that was made. Since no decision was made, the declaration of a conflict of interest is yours to make.
Right.
But there wasn't a decision made in this particular instance, and whether there is a conflict or not is not for me to decide, it's for you.
Right. So I will address the conflict of order, declaration of conflict. I realize that, and we all realize here, every councillor here realizes that if we have a conflict, it's our responsibility to declare that conflict of interest. If I felt I had a conflict of interest, I would have declared it. So those of you who know me well know that I do my due diligence, and I did. I have sought independent legal counsel to ensure that I do not have a conflict of interest, as well as I contacted our municipal advisor to ensure that I do not have a conflict of interest on this issue. So seeing such, both independently told me I do not have a conflict of interest on any issue on our agenda tonight, and having seen that, I did not declare it. Because had I had a conflict, I would have declared it. So I will say that.
I'd like to appeal that decision.
We will continue on.
I'd like to appeal that decision,
Thank you.
have it sent to council to vote.
This is our meeting?
That's not an appropriate.
No, this is a council meeting.
Under Robert's Rules of Order, we have the right to appeal a decision of the chair on a rule of order to be sent to council for vote. Thank you.
That is incorrect.
Yes, as the solicitor for the Municipality of Argyle, I can address that issue and
Yes,
indicate
please.
that outside of the meeting, it's the decision makers at the meeting. Points of order are up to the chair to decide whether they accept them or not, and an appeal of that would be in the same category. And therefore, before you is a motion that was brought forward. There was no seconder, and I don't know if that's been exhausted, the decision of whether there is a seconder or not. But for the purposes of this meeting, the councillors are the ones who get to decide on whether or not to accept, whether or not to bring up points of order.
Okay. Okay, so you've heard my explanation. We are going to continue on. We've heard from our solicitor as well. We've received advice from our solicitor. We will continue on. We have 10F, letter to mayors, wardens, CAOs for setback regulations. So we have an attachment, and in this attachment, it discusses some of the changes that we have to windmills, wind turbines that may be coming in the future. So the setback that we traditionally had, we had set through our land use bylaw. We had our own setbacks. They were like a kilometer or 1,000 meters. We had to make sure that they were away from houses that far. Now the provincial government has made regulations that their setbacks are even less than ours. So they have reduced, and it all depends on the size of the wind turbine as well. But this is for information to let us know, and for discussion to let us know that they have made new regulations to cut back some of the setbacks, and they basically said, this is the expectation. I want to highlight something else in the letter that they sent us. Additionally, the amendments stipulate that visual impact or aesthetic appearance of a wind turbine development is not a matter of council, that a matter council can consider prior to approval. So in the past, that was something that we had in our bylaw, in our setbacks, that was part of it, but they are very clear about what they are accepting now. Any questions or comments on that? Deputy Warden Saunier.
Thank you. So just for the record and for the public, the proposed windmills in Westport are basically grandfathered in. There's a distance of 1,000 meters, 1 kilometer. That cannot be changed.
Would you like to answer that?
Please.
Okay.
Sorry.
Through you, Madam Chair, the answer to the question is yes, it cannot be changed. Any provincial regulation to impose rules on us would apply to future development, not current development.
And in future development, just to be clear, local municipal government cannot override provincial.
No, I mean, it's very rare that the province actually gets in the business of land use, but they did in this case, and because they're our boss, we cannot override them with a land use bylaw of our own that's different than theirs. We have to abide by their rules. We can add additional things to it potentially, but we cannot say, no, we're going 1,000 meters, forget you. We can't do that. We have to go by the distance rules that they apply. The other things like shadow flicker and noise and all those were all addressed already by our bylaw. So, and they're very, very similar to what the province is saying. So what they're saying is distance isn't the issue as much as you make sure it doesn't make 40 decibels worth of noise, right? So it isn't the distance to the home as much as it is the nuisance it might provide. Is that okay?
Any other questions or comments? So this was more for information, just so that we're aware. We will be probably looking at our land use bylaw to see, how this is going to work for us as well, because likely we will see more wind turbines in our municipality in the future. Okay. Next, we have 7G, REMO. CRPP funding application update. So there's two attachments here. The first one is the actual, there's an explanation of a funding application. So it's important for you to understand that the application has already been approved. The application is already gone in. This is kind of it's one of the pieces that we have to ensure we include in order for this application to be valid. So we have to be able to, if you look at the second attachment, we have to be able to add in this resolution for this application to be forwarded. So we have, do you want me to read the resolution?
Sure.
Okay. So this is so that our municipality can have climate-ready plans, because we're seeing a lot more climate change, natural disasters. We've had fires, we've had flooding, and what they're basically trying to do is create a map that kind of sets up for potential hazards that may be in our municipality. So an application has gone in for this system, this ability to be able to predict where we may have potential issues in our municipality. So in order to do this, we need to add this resolution in, whereas the Municipality of Argyle has the following interests: to create a world-class dynamic hazard, risk, and vulnerability assessment using cutting-edge technology, and to create a prioritized, risk-based climate adaptation plan that reflects the unique characteristics of our municipality, and to ensure that the diversity of our people, our economy, our culture, and our environment are protected through risk-informed planning, operations, and emergency management, and to complete the above with no capital nor ongoing costs, and to do so in a manner that enables discretionary sharing with other municipalities so as to explore common experiences and adaptation opportunities that build tomorrow's resilience today. whereas the Municipality of Argyle seeks to undertake a climate risk assessment and prioritized adaptation plan for the Municipality of Argyle in coordination with 13 other municipalities across Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and Labrador, all of whom are partnering with McAllister and Craig Disaster Management for highly technical project elements and technical expertise. Be it resolved that the Municipality of Argyle directs staff to apply for a funding opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Local Leadership for Climate Adaptation Initiative for a climate risk assessment and prioritized adaptation plan for the Municipality of Argyle, it should say.
It should.
And will. Any questions or comments on that? So we need a motion to make this resolution?
I'll second.
Okay?
On the motion.
Yes.
That was quick. No,
That's okay.
you're the boss, applesauce. So on the motion itself, I just want to make clear, there is a current application with the FCM. This is not new. So basically what's happening is the EMO or REMO under the leadership of our own Councillor Digdon have gone out and done work on climate readiness, et cetera. It doesn't cost us any money. It's all in-kind contributions. I know I might be repeating a little. And because one of the municipalities had to make the application, guess what? It's us. So this resolution was required in order to support the application. So it is a formality, and it's not anything that you haven't already been part of as part of the broader region. So I just want to make that clear. Okay?
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. It is moved by Councillor Boudreau and seconded by Councillor LeBlanc to accept this resolution. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Next, we have 10H, we have the review of our accessibility and equity and anti-racism plans. So we've been talking about these two plans for a little bit. Natalie Surratt D'Entremont is here from the Department of Recreation. She's been working diligently with committees and community members on both of these plans. These are plans that are required by the province, that they've asked us. We have to have these plans submitted for them with deadlines coming up very soon. So Nat is going to give us a quick overview of the plans.
Excuse me.
Sure. Thank you. Go ahead.
Having said that, these plans have not been done by myself alone. There is a committee working with me. I'm the lead, so I just want to make that clear. And I also want to make it clear that I am no expert in accessibility, equity, and anti-racism. So I just want to make that upfront that that's not my intention. I want to give you a quick overview of what we've done. The two documents, once approved, will be on our website, so everybody will be able to see. They are quite lengthy. There are somewhere in the 50 pages, and so that's you can view that at your leisure. So what did I do, or what did we do as the accessibility coordinator? I met with three senior groups in our municipality on three separate occasions, and I received 109 surveys. I compiled that information, and just those results are in the actual document. I interviewed first voice residents, meaning someone who is living with a disability. I met with someone with a visual, hearing, and physical impairments, had their opinions, and it was more like a one-on-one interview. And I also surveyed council and staff and received 17 surveys from there. And that survey was probably around how are we doing, what's our successes, are we moving the needle, and we are. The priorities included education, training, and awareness, both internally and externally. So I see that there's a typo there. We need to, it was strongly seen that education was a big component of this priority for the accessibility. Also, we want to increase engagements of the first voice, so people living out there with these experiences and how is it affecting them, what type of barriers are out there, and that's another priority. And the last one is the implementation of the priorities from the previous plan. So we do have a plan. 3 years ago, and now this plan is for the next 3 years. The first voice, the common themes that I heard were people don't know what they don't know. They're not living what we're living. We need some education and awareness. People need to hear what we have to say. The other one was transportation. And when I targeted the first voice, it was around the younger group, so in the 20s to 30s, and transportation was a big issue. How do we get from point A to point B? And it's really difficult for a lot of them. And automatic doors were a barrier for both the first voice, but also for seniors. Sometimes we go into even this building, and there's a switch on top of the automatic door openers. And if it's turned off, they can't open that door. And often we do that, and some of them don't work. We'll see in our work that if that happens, how we address that. So our action plan for 2025, I'm going to be brief with this. So it's to deliver and participate in accessibility training, education, and awareness. So there'll be a public side to this, where we will be promoting things such as the International Persons with Disabilities on our social media. We will be doing some education on Alzheimer's, related dementia sessions, those types of things. And externally, we will, internally, we have an extensive adaptive equipment loan. So we will be bringing those to try-it sessions so people actually know what we have here to help them be more physically active. And also, we will be doing a lot of lunch and learns around accessibility for our staff, which we could include digital accessibility, and Scott just moved that a little faster than I wanted to. Plain language, a session on human rights, and other different types of disabilities and how we deal with that. Internally, again, we will develop some sort of training for the people sitting around this table to understand the human rights, a review of the Accessibility Act, how do we communicate with people with disabilities, all this training. It will be legislated by the province, and you will be seeing this from the goods and services standards. As I sit on the provincial committee, these are things that I'm seeing that are coming down provincially. Engaging with people with disabilities, so we have an advisory committee that has 50% of the membership that is a person living with a disability or is part of a group that supports people who are living with disability or has someone in the home living with a disability. So we have that, and we also are trying to get as much as possible people with disability lived experiences, barriers, sitting on our municipal committees as much as we can. We don't want to overtax the same people over and over again, so we need to be careful. Seeking engagement as much as possible, go to them rather than have them come to us. So it's easier for us to actually reach out to them. And that's how I did the face-to-face interviews, is I went into the home for the most part. I did have one here. We found out, especially one with a hearing disability that brought into this room, there was no way we could communicate. I had booked one of our boardrooms, and still that was not, we were not able to communicate. We had to go into smaller offices. So some of that has already been rectified in here. People provide different options as to how people with disabilities participate in municipal committee work. So there was things such as, how can people with disabilities actually participate, like on the agenda, comments on the minutes, be part on a Zoom, those types of things, the different options that we can provide them. And the implementation of the accessibility plan, that was the plan that was originally done. Our new plan, you will see that we celebrate the successes that we've done in the past 3 years. And then what have we not done, and how are we going to accomplish that? So with the committee and the feedback that we gathered, we'll look at the transportation. We're going to be partnering, we're talking with Hope seeing if we can get a van and minimal fee for people in, the residents in the municipality of Argyle to go from Shop Carl to a co-op or, to a community hall, so on and so forth. A review of the audits. We have had sidewalks audits and multipurpose audits done. Now we need to review those and prioritize those. How are we going to move forward with that? And finalize the recreation accessibility policy draft so that we want to present that. It is in draft form. Some of you have seen it. It is not complete, but we are almost ready to do that. And then recreation staff would implement that policy once approved. And that policy is extensive, and there's, in the report, you'll see it touches on many different areas. And just so you are aware of who the committee members are on this, our councillor Sonia, a community member Mona Doucette, a community member Yvette LeBlanc, François Lagnaudier is our building inspector, Julie Mans is a community member and also an academic, and myself as the recreation director and your accessibility coordinator. I'm going to pause there for a minute if there's any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions for Natalie? Go ahead, Councillor Foster.
Yes, I guess I have more of a comment than a question. I've gotten into the habit of pressing the button there for the automatic doors wherever I go, just to see how they work. And I am amazed at the amount of doors that do not open when you press the button. I have a brother who's confined to a wheelchair. And, talking from him, these barriers are real when it
They are
comes to
real.
transportation and people getting around. So I'm glad, I guess on a personal issue, that this is being addressed, because I'm living, I'm related to somebody who has to live with this on a daily basis.
Thank you, Councillor
Thank you.
Foster. Just a note on that, even the one we have here in our front entrance is not really visible to the people who need it. They don't really know where it is. So that's something that we can address, and those are little issues that I found by doing some interviews.
And the door is very heavy.
Very heavy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. Any other questions or comments for Natalie? Okay. Do you want us to approve this one first?
I think,
Is that what you would
I think
like?
so. That would mean, in case the other one, you have more
Absolutely.
questions. Yeah.
Sure. So, council, you've had a chance to read the policy. You were given the plan. You were given the plan ahead of time. You've had the chance. Nat just kind of reviewed it very quickly. We do have a suggested motion that says that we move that council approve the accessibility plan for 2025-2028. Is anybody willing to make that motion tonight? Okay, so it's moved by Councillor Surratt, seconded by Deputy Warden Sonia. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Okay.
Thank you.
Next one.
That makes me very happy.
I'm
Thank
sure.
you. So we'll move on to the equity and anti-racism. So this is something new. So all public, prescribed public bodies, which means municipalities, universities, and libraries need to have these plans in place. So they're starting with these first and then moving on to the general public. So the guiding principles of this document, one is a commitment to continued learning and action. Again, we see the theme of learning, providing training for municipal staff, elected officials to recognize and to counteract biases. All employees of the Municipality of Argyle have a knowledge and understanding of the negative effects on unconscious bias, racism, and discrimination. Accountability, develop and share clear goals and actions to address systemic racism and discrimination within the municipal policies and practices. 4 is building meaningful partnership with underrepresented and underprivileged groups. And the 4th one is a commitment to history and culture from the past and present. The community engagement that was done in this, we needed some communication engagements with people of underrepresented. Drumlin School graciously accepted for me to go into the school and do a survey, but again, kind of like a focus group with, I had 8 people of different origins, giving me some examples. That was extremely beneficial for myself. I surveyed the council and staff, surveyed 2 associations, the Acadian Métis and the Métis Council, and then we had a general survey on social media and on our website. The key priorities that came out of that is equitable recreation services, and that could be because I'm in recreation and leading this process, but recreation has historically been a leader in some of these. Training and education, as Tim mentioned, there's a lot of education awareness and so on. The policy review and equitable hiring practices. The action plan, the first one for recreation services, is that the council would approve the policy that is in draft now for accessibility and inclusion. Also the council will endorse the Recreation Nova Scotia Anti-Racism Charter, which is a charter that actually in point forms describes how we would do our work on a day-to-day basis. And monitoring and accountability, the municipality commits to reviewing progress on a yearly basis, engaging with community members, and in this particular instance, the Recreation Commission, and adapting strategies to ensure continuous improvement in anti-racism efforts in the recreational services. The action plan for the training and education is that, one, we would have an introductory workshop in 2025. It would have very, like an overview of the municipal equity and anti-racism commitment, the introduction to key concepts such as equity versus equality, systemic racism, privilege, intersectionality, unconscious bias, and cultural humility. And there could be more to that. Facilitated, again, by someone who is knowledgeable in the EDI world, which is equity, diversity, and inclusion. There would also be other workshops for the staff, or human rights training, unconscious bias training, cultural humility training, and we would also have an understanding of EDIA workshop for elected officials. So we would create some sort of training session. And when I say we, I'm not sure who I'm talking about, but we'll have to have a small working group to actually come up with this, and someone who has maybe a bit more knowledge than myself. The action plan for policy review. So we have a policy review schedule. All municipal policies will be reviewed every 5 years with an equity and inclusion lens. Policy adjustments, if evaluation shows gaps and challenges, we will update the policies and programs accordingly. The equity impact assessment is that each policy will be assessed to identify barriers that may disadvantage marginalized groups. Council and leadership communication, so regular updates will be provided to the municipal leadership on EDI, we can call it EDIA, but EDI initiatives, and training completion rates. So we track the percentage of the municipal staff, the leadership, the council members who have taken this training on equity and anti-racism. So for the equitable hiring practices, the job descriptions and requirements, we'd write clear, inclusive job descriptions that focus on essential skills and avoid unnecessary requirements that may limit diverse applicants. Ensure job postings are accessible to all, including people with disabilities. The application review, we would use a standardized evaluation criteria to assess the applicants fairly. Structure interview process, so we use a set of list of questions for all candidates to ensure consistency. And I'm not saying we don't do this now. So this is just, right. I want to make that clear that we are doing some of this already. This is just to, I guess, make it a stronger case. So include a diverse hiring panel when possible. And sometimes that's not always easy for us to do, but we should try to do that, a better job at what we're doing than we are now, and train hiring staff to recognize and avoid biases. And the last part was accountability and continuous improvement. So review the hiring data to ensure fairness every 5 years, provide training for all employees on diversity, equity, and inclusion every 4 years, coinciding with the municipal election year. So that would include, I think I'm missing the word employee and council, elected officials there. And that is, in brief, in very brief form, what the equity and anti-racism plan is there. But as I said, once approved, this will go to the province. The province will have that on their website, and our responsibility is to have that on our website so that the general public can see what we're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Question?
Natalie. Are there any questions or comments for Natalie on this plan? Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you. First off, Natalie, thanks so much for those two reports there. I know you've spent a lot of time and effort of putting them together, and they were a requirement for council. So thank you so much. It's not a question, I just want to quote because I really think this sums it up, and that's your tagline on your email. And that is, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to the dance. So anyways, thanks for that. You're very inspirational in regards to this.
Thank you very much, Darryl, to even pick that, Councillor, to even pick up on that. Thank you, Councillor LeBlanc.
Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I just have probably a long comment. Natalie is also head of recreation. She's been for quite a while, and I'm on that committee as well. And I just want to say that the work she does is amazing. It makes my head spin. I can't keep up with her. She's department head for recreation. Does accessibility, active living, racism, and much, much more. I don't know about anybody else, but I appreciate what you do. And again, it makes my head spin. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Dad. Appreciate it.
Okay. So we have seen this plan prior to tonight. There is a suggested motion that move that council approve the equity and anti-racism plan for 2025 to 2028. Somebody willing to make that motion? Okay, it's moved by Councillor Bork. It is seconded by Councillor Surratt. Question, Councillor Foster? No, okay.
Motion.
Okay.
Takes a while for my light to go on to red.
It's not your light. I think it's probably me.
It's your finger.
Yeah, I think so. Any other questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carry. Great work. Great work to you and your committees, because I know that there have been multiple people involved. I know it's been a lot of work, but we appreciate the work that you've put into this. Thank you so much. Really good job. Next, we have on the agenda 10I, flooding, Highway 308 and 3. Councillor Malcolm Madden. There is an attachment there as well.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I was approached by residents in District 1 about the flooding, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the highway, and after heavy rain around Carl Store Post Office, and this year with the extreme weather we've had from hot to cold, freezing, initially I thought it was a problem with transportation, but I talked to Ray Surratt that has the apartments over there, and I knew he had cleaned up in back of his apartments, and I thought maybe something had done, and talked to him about it. But apparently there's something that's been done in back of the old council building around Matthew Burke's house, from his understanding. And since then, there's been floodwaters on that property, and he's had a problem with his cellar. After I called him, he said, I was going to call you about it. But so I don't know if we should have staff investigate that. I know we work with sewer, and I don't know, work with ditches, but look at that problem and report to us and see what can be done. If it's a TIR problem, fine, it is. But if it's something to do that was done, it's very dangerous. We haven't had any accidents yet, but I'm trying to alleviate that. And I don't know if the CAO has any information on that, or are you aware of anything?
Go ahead, Council. CAO Muse.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you. I am aware of that situation. If council so wishes to address it and to have staff investigate further, I will be assigning it to our Director of Operating Services.
We need a motion for that, or?
Yes, because I believe, my understanding of the problem is that it might be a private property problem. Typically, what we have in those instances, it's very easy to go to the Department of Transportation and say, hey, you've got things going on here, but this may be a private issue. So I think if council so wishes to make that a motion, I will assign that to my Director of Operating Services, as it does impact a business that I have ownership in, and I don't want to be involved in that particular activity.
So I will make that motion that we ask staff to investigate and report back to council and see what can be done.
Do you have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Foster. Comments? I know Deputy Warden, you had a, hold on. Deputy Warden, did you have?
Thank you.
Yep.
If it's not a private issue, I met with our MLA, Colton LeBlanc, last week, and he was with Paul Laflèche, who is our Deputy Minister of Public Affairs and Public Works, sorry. And Colton, I believe we have him invited to council. Is he not?
I think we're going to
I
invite him.
think he is.
I don't
And-
have a confirmed date.
So I saw your attachment, and I read it, and Colton said that he would, I'm ahead of myself, Laflèche offered to meet with council. So Colton said, let council meet with me first, and if we need to approach Paul Laflèche, that he would certainly invite him and maybe address your issue if it's not private, is what I'm trying to say. So there's another avenue, and the door could probably open pretty quick for you to ask this Paul Laflèche to accommodate.
Yes.
Councillor Foster.
I've already brought this matter to the attention of the CAO because I've received some concerns about it from my district as well. So apparently this has been an ongoing issue for a bit. I did ask the previous warden who is here tonight, previous councillor for District Number 1, if it was an issue when he was there, and he said yes. And again, the question is, what is the source of the water? Where's it coming from? I was wondering if they were operating, not really operating, but if they were doing a lot of car washing in the summertime. And the ironic thing is that when everything froze over this winter, the water stopped flowing across the road for the most part. And now with the spring thaw, it's flowing again. Now, this morning, it was running across the road like a babbling brook. And when I went home this afternoon, the pave was bone dry. But it seems to have created a humongous pothole at the end of the driveway where the water is coming from. There is a very large pothole there, and a smaller one as you come onto the Gavel Road. Because I know the CAO has told me that he had an issue with his business where when there was a heavy rainstorm, the rain was washing away the gravel to the, north of the store. So again, it is a pressing issue. There's a lot of people concerned about it, and I hope we can do something about it.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Next, we have Article 10J, we have Article C39, Community Litter. There are 2 attachments. So we've had a community litter program since 2006. It's something we started in 2006, kind of almost as a fundraiser for community groups, for nonprofit groups. They were cleaning, it was win-win because community groups were applying through the municipality to come in. They would clean a specific number of kilometers, they would clean the garbage, the debris, and then they would get a money incentive to do so. So we had been doing that for years, looking at how we could kind of do things a little bit differently, and then lo and behold, Waste Check has come up with a program. So we have a memo and we have some changes to a policy that we had, because we did have a community litter cleanup program policy before that explained what residents had to do if they wanted to apply for this program. So we are looking at now allowing the Waste Check to continue this program, but they don't offer the money incentives to the community groups who apply. But we would like to continue to offer those incentives. So we are giving, we would like to go from 200 to 250 a kilometer, so with a maximum of 5 kilometers. And we would like to have 100 kilometers on our threshold instead of 125. So the budget would stay the same as what we've budgeted year after year for this. The part about this that I think is enticing for staff is that the administration of this is all done by Waste Check. So people go online, there was a link to click that you could see the application form. So everything has to be done through them, but then residents have to then take pictures to document and make sure that if they said they were going to clean a kilometer, they have to take pictures and show the municipality that they've done what they said they were going to do in order to get the money that is provided for each kilometer. So we were provided with a memo that explains all of this. We also have the attachment that tweaks our policy to now fit this new program. It is called the Great Nova Scotia Pickup instead of our own policy, our own program. So that's kind of the gist of what this attachment is about. We do have a question from Councillor Foster.
Yes, correct me if I misunderstood, but was the program stopped during the COVID period? Because of COVID
Yes,
reasons,
we had stopped
people
it.
were
We
afraid
did.
to get contaminated with the COVID virus by picking up pop bottles and such. So we're now in a position to do that program again. I received a complaint from the Sluice Point area about the amount of litter that was being thrown away in Hubbard's Point. Once you get past the community, the main community where the houses are all located, or once you get past the Schmady-McCoke, people are throwing their garbage out the car window, and it's fetching up in the ditch there, and it's really bad. There's also been an ongoing issue with litter on the Chemin de la Pointe in Hubbard's Point. And I wonder, you can set up a deer camera to see if there's deer going into your apples and carrots. Is there any way that one could, I'm not sure if that would be doable or not, but how does one deal with littering in these places where there's no visibility? And my other comment would be, when we do these cleaning programs, litter pickup they need to be done before the spring growth. They should be done now, at this time of year. Because if you wait until mid-May, end of May, with the spring growth, it's much more difficult to clean the ditches effectively.
Thank
Those
you.
are my 2 comments.
Thank you, appreciate that. CEO Muse?
A couple of questions in there, Madam Chair, that I just want to address very quickly to council. So the first question is did this get paused during COVID? The answer is yes. It did. We also tried and tested a spring and fall cleanup because with COVID and all the uncertainty, there were times where the community opened up for a minute. But people were very, very sensitive around doing that because of the fear. So it did pause. It was restored after 2020. I think 23 was the first year it was truly restored. And it's had a couple of different views. Your point on spring cleanup is absolutely correct. We are seeking, this is why we brought it into this meeting, because very quickly spring will be sprung. Well, actually, it has sprung, to be honest. I think it was yesterday.
Today.
Or today. Happy spring. So that has happened. So we're going to be quickly going at it. We still, there's no question that Waste Check has had enforcement issues in the past around illegal dumping sites. And I am aware that they have, whether they're still using them or not, cameras and appropriate video that says, look, you're being watched here. So it has discouraged certain illegal dumping. It's a little bit more challenging when people are littering all over the place. If we have particular areas, I will be asking Gus Green and the Waste Check team to examine the possibility of some sort of surveillance in strategic areas. We've done this in other cases where there's a lot of speeding. We have speed reduction or signs that kind of remind people you're going a heck of a lot faster than the speed limit. So these things are available, and we will seek to put them in place and see what can happen. So can't report on that today, but that will come up. We did have a fall cleanup, as I said. We've gotten rid of that because there's still a lot of growth in the fall. This program is to encourage nonprofit organizations to make money, and at the end of the day, council is going to have to examine whether that's enough, because we know that if we don't have, like we had years where we didn't have this, and there was a ton of litter in the ditches. And so I would point out that the ditches are provincial property. They've been quite helpful in the past, a little less helpful on picking up the garbage these days, but still they see it as a benefit because we're cleaning their area as well. So I hope that answers some of your questions/comments.
Yes, very well. I'm very satisfied with your answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Foster. When I'm out walking my dogs and that, the ditches now they're loaded with so many cans. And the thing that really strikes me is, because I see this all the time, on Saturdays and Sundays, there are more alcohol cans in the ditches than the day before, is what's happening. And so what we have is I'm not going to say kids, because it's adults driving, whether they're heading to town to Boston Pizza or wherever, or they're heading to whatever institution or place they're going to, and the cans are going out the window. And I know that for a fact. I see it year after year, week after week. That's what's happening. I think this also comes down to, this program's fantastic and it's really needed, but I also think it comes down to, and I don't know what we can do as an educational program to get it out to the households to stop people from throwing their garbage out the bloody window. Because it's not just alcohol cans either. It's you see McDonald's packaging, you see Tim Horton cups, you see all that stuff. And again, we're all responsible, I think, for our front yard, for our ditches. And like I try to keep my ditch clean or whatever, but you have places that are way back off the road, or you have places where it's just bare land and the garbage is just loading up. When they did the road through Argyle, they dug out the ditches, so some of those ditches are deeper now, and so it's harder for people to get down in there and get the garbage out of there. So anyways, just a few notes there, but I think it is, this program's great. I'm really for this program, but I also think that council needs to look at maybe at some point of trying to get some type of educational program out there as well to the households. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Digdon.
Thank you very much, Deputy Warden. I'm all for the program, by all means. I hate to see us losing possibly 25 kilometers. I'd like to see it grow by 25 kilometers, by all means, because it's a great program. There's a lot of organizations that depend on it as a fundraiser. And the only thing I'd like to know, though, I see here now where the people that would be, the organizations that would be picking up this litter would be responsible for getting it into the landfill site. And I have no problem doing that and helping people out with that, by all means. I'm just, it says to try and you put the appropriate garbage in the appropriate bags, but really, it's a lot of seniors, at least down our way, that's doing this. They can't each have 2 or 3 bags with them, to start separating their garbage. So I'm just hoping in that if I do haul some into the landfill site, I'm not gonna start having issues in there. And then saying, Digdon, you gotta separate that stuff, because we're gonna have issues. Yeah, so that's all, as long as they know if it's coming from, one of these pickups, that they've tried the best they can, they've, hopefully keep their recyclables out, but the rest it's anything, so
Okay,
that's
thank
my
you.
biggest concern. Yeah.
Understood. Deputy Warden Sonia.
Hi, thank you. On the Waste Check Committee, this topic comes up a lot, and we don't seem to come up for a solution, not so much for picking it up, but for deterring people from doing what they do. We've recognized in the past that, for instance, when they first came out with the seat belt and helmets on bicycles, the biggest problems people had with that wasn't the kids, it was us. We didn't want to wear seat belts. We didn't want to wear helmets on our bikes and stuff like that. The kids, to our surprise, are teaching us. And some of us got to grab the bull by the horn and start to teach our peers. And, I used to throw stuff out of the window years ago. I admit to that. And I think we all did to a degree. Now I won't even throw a Kleenex out. Those are tiny little rolled up ball, but I still won't throw it out. I take it home, and I empty my truck garbage every day if I have some. So it's education. Make people look a little silly, stupid if you have to, but they shouldn't litter. That's the bottom line, because if people don't stop, these ditches are going to stay dirty. That's simple. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have the new program, we have the amendments to the policy that we already had. I suspect that council has had the time to look at the amendments, to check the policy out, to make sure it lines up. How does council feel? Do you feel ready to approve this policy with the amendments as presented? Anybody willing to make a motion to that? Okay, so it's moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Boudreau. Any more questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda, I added in, I would like to make a motion that we send a card of condolence and maybe a fruit basket.
You suggest a motion to be made?
No, I cannot, sorry.
I can make that motion.
You're right, thanks.
Tell me what it is.
So we have a person in she doesn't live in our municipality, but does a lot of work for our municipality, an excellent volunteer, Linda Gallagher. And those of you who know Linda know how much time, commitment, how many projects she has included in our region, and has been an invaluable volunteer. And her family has suffered a tragedy that is unimaginable while on vacation. I'm not sure if everybody is aware. So while they were on vacation in Cuba over March break, her 36-year-old son, passed away unexpectedly. So they're still working on how do we bring a body back from Cuba. The family is adjusting to a extremely difficult situation. So I brought this forward tonight because I feel like she's done so much for us. I think those of us who know what's happened are hurting for her and her family, and I thought maybe it would be a nice gesture if we could send along a card, maybe a gift basket for her and her family. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
So I will make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Okay, seconded. Go ahead, Councillor Digdon.
Thank you very much. And I'm all for it by all means. The only thing at some point, and sometimes the family may not want a fruit basket as much as they'd want maybe a $100 donation to a certain charity that they're near and dear to. And I'm wondering if we just would ask her first, what
Absolutely.
you'd prefer.
Certainly.
And it's just, I deal with this stuff quite a bit. So,
Right, you know what you're talking about.
So, an idea.
Okay.
And maybe just, and I say $100, maybe just put a dollar amount on that donation, whether it be a fruit basket or a donation.
So,
We changed the wording on that.
so we can say, so if we could offer a card from council and staff.
By all means.
And I was thinking a token of condolences.
Exactly.
How does that sound?
Up to a maximum of, just like we usually do, we usually put
Absolutely, up to a maximum of
$150.
$150. Does that sound okay?
Just my,
So I agree with that amended motion.
Okay. And does the seconder agree? Seconder agrees. So we have an amended motion on the floor. Any more questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Next, number 11, correspondence and for information. We have a letter from Minister Smith regarding the Argyle Aquaculture Development Area, the ADA update. I'm going to do a quick read of this letter, seeing as we have many people in the gallery tonight. So this was sent to me on March 7th and forwarded to be added to the agenda. So dear Warden Albright, I would like to begin by extending a belated congratulations to you and your council members on being returned or newly elected to council. Our department has had an excellent working relationship with the municipality of the District of Argyle, and I am looking forward to continuing that tradition as we move forward. Significant progress has been made on the Argyle Aquaculture Development Area, ADA pilot project, since I last corresponded with council. And I would like to take this opportunity to provide you with an update on the project and to outline our next steps. Following the April 15th, 2024 call for proposals for the first 6 ADA locations, the department received 14 proposals from 9 different proponents. The 14 proposals were reviewed by staff and the ADA Proposal Assessment Panel to provide recommendations to the Aquaculture Administrator. On January 22nd, 2025, the Aquaculture Administrator selected 5 of the proposals, with each applicable to a single one of the 5 ADA locations. All proponents who responded to the call for proposals have been notified of the administrator's decision, and the department staff have met with the successful proponents to provide directions on how to complete their applications for a lease and license. Applications must be received by April 22nd, 2025 to be considered. Only one of the locations, number 8010, located in Indian Sluice Bay, had no successful proponents. Once the lease and license applications are received, department staff will review the applications, and they will be posted for a 30-day public comment period. Information from the department's review and the public comments received will be submitted to the Aquaculture Administrator for consideration as he makes his decision on the applications. All decisions concerning marine aquaculture sites must consider the 8 factors described in Section 3 of the Aquaculture License and Lease Regulations. If you would like more information on the license process, please visit our website, and the website is indicated. As I previously committed to your council, we will not be announcing any additional calls for proposals for the remaining ADA locations until we have had an opportunity to meet with council to identify opportunities for further communication and engagement with the community. I believe that the earlier public engagement on this project, led by MODA and supported by our department, was comprehensive, thorough, and well-documented. But we are open to discuss additional work that could be done. Can't believe Guy's laughing. This does not mean, however, that we will be redoing the comprehensive public engagement process that took place prior to the creation of the ADA. The process of creating the ADA, which came into law through an order in council on April 12, 2024, and the subsequent steps we have taken to offer sites through the competitive call for proposals and the administrative applications for a lease and license follow the Nova Scotia Fisheries and Coastal Resources Act and the Aquaculture License and Lease Regulations. The work that MODA has done to support the ADA development is consistent with the 2020 MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, signed between our department and the Municipality of the District of Argyle. I am satisfied that the legislated process was fairly and properly followed. Furthermore, if a license application is submitted for a site within an ADA as part of a future call for proposals, there would be a 30-day public comment period for individuals to provide feedback. It is important to note that the Fisheries and Coastal Resources Act was amended in September 2024 to streamline the decision-making process for new shellfish and marine plant license applications, which was a key recommendation from the 2023 regulatory review. And there's the website for the final report. That amendment, as well as others related to aquaculture, will come into force upon proclamation. In the meantime, the department is working on regulatory amendments to support the changes made to the Act. Once the Act amendments come into force, applications for new shellfish and marine plant licenses outside of an ADA will no longer be sent to the Nova Scotia Aquaculture Review Board for a hearing and decision, but instead will require a 30-day public comment period, with the decision being made by the aquaculture administrator. In other words, the applications for sites that are part of Argyle ADA will be given the exact same opportunity for public comment and will be the subject to determination by the same decision maker as new applications outside of the ADA. As you know, Canada is facing challenging times, and our government is committed to making sure Nova Scotia is well-positioned to meet these emerging threats. As a province, we must act quickly to become more self-reliant and unlock the potential of our rural economy through the responsible development of Nova Scotia's resources. Aquaculture is an excellent example of an industry that has a proven track record, excellent potential for growth, but is all too often held back because of misinformation and a fear of change. In 2020, the Municipality of the District of Argyle showed vision and leadership by committing to a process with this department to seek out and identify opportunities for future aquaculture activities in an effort to stimulate economic development in your community. That was a smart decision 5 years ago that is even more relevant and consequential today. I look forward to our continued cooperation on this project, and I am particularly excited to see the business opportunities that it will create in your community. Please let me know if there are any additional information that you will require, and we look forward to re-engaging with your council after the licensing process for the first 5 ADA locations has been concluded. Yours sincerely, the Honourable Ken Smith. Questions or comments on that? Okay, seeing none. Number 12, financial requests. 12A. We have council community grant requests. We have 3 requests from District 9. We have a request from Friends of TNR for $700. We have a request from Comité des aînés et aînés de la région d'Argyle for $700. And we also have a request from the West Pubnico Golf Association for $700. And we have a 4th one. Go ahead. Go ahead, Councillor.
So we have a 4th one from FECAN on behalf of the La Voix de la Mer. They are going to Normandie, France to present their presentation at $700.
For $700. So are you willing to make a motion to move all of those?
I'd like to make a motion to move all 4 of those financial requests for the fiscal year of 24-25.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Okay, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Are there any questions on those financial requests? Do you have a question, Councillor Digdon? Okay,
Thank you
go
very
ahead.
much. Just wondering, like, I don't know what our policy states for our community grant request funds, and I'm all for it, but I see the TNR here now. Their mailing address is Hebron, their contact person is in Hebron. I know a lot of the work they do, is also with cats and that in our neighborhood. But I'm just wondering, can somebody else, like from another area outside of our municipality, start putting in requests for community grant requests? And some of our work goes on in Argyle as well. So I'm just wondering what the guidelines are there,
Okay.
that's all.
That's a great question. Sure. Go ahead, CEO Muse.
That's an excellent question. Madam Chair, the best answer I can give you right now is that It is typical that organizations that operate in a district may not necessarily be resident in that district. I don't think there's anything, I am going to look at the policy to be sure. If in fact that let's assume that it's an affirmative on that decision, and there's an issue with how the policy is written, we can certainly revisit that. But I think organizations don't necessarily have to reside specifically in that location as long as they are serving that location. I think that, and to Councillor Surratt's request, if this in fact means that the work will be done specifically in that district, would certainly be consistent with the policy. But that's my best answer without actually having the policy in front of me. So I'm going to look at that as we speak, but that would be my answer. It doesn't necessarily exclude them as long as they are operating within that district. And let me double check.
Just thought I'd
No,
ask,
it's a good, excellent question.
we tend to be a giving community sometimes, or a giving council. And if, just don't want to start something that we have 20 requests here, yeah.
Okay.
I do have the answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I unplugged too early. Section 10.1 of thank you for bringing that up, of the policy says that community grants are available to all nonprofit organizations that conduct their affairs within the Municipality of Argyle. So as long as the organization conducts its affairs, so that was quite a guess, right? That was a guess. Okay, so I happened to probably written some of this at one point, and so each council will be allowed, et cetera, et cetera. So as long as they operate within the district, which I trust the councillor in question is aware, it's good.
Councillor Surratt, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. An excellent question, by the way. This committee definitely operates within all of Yarmouth County, including the Municipality of Argyle, and I believe the address is to the treasurer of the actual group. There are many members of the group who are definitely from Argyle, but it was the treasurer's address.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We have a seconder. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Okay, next we have agenda topics for our next meeting, or notice of motion by councillors. Any agenda topics or notice of motions for anyone? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move to question period. So question period, first of all, okay, there's nothing online. So we have a number of people in the gallery this evening. If anybody wants to ask a question about anything that is on the agenda, we would ask that you come up to the mic. We generally have like 3 to 5 minutes if you can. Please identify who you are, and then you can ask your questions or comments. So anybody who would like to come up. Anybody at all? Yes, absolutely. Come on up. Yes, just press the button. Can you press the button on the mic, Chris?
It goes red?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is, I think in response to Councillor Madsen's motion that no one seconded tonight. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just giving you the topic that I'm going to be talking about. So my name is Chris Thibodeau, for those of you that don't know me. So I was born in Yarmouth. I've lived here and owned property here most of my life. I have a French-Acadian background with ancestors and family from Argyle. I own a house in Rocco Point, and I love it here. I've worked, just a little bit about me so you know who I am. I've worked in over 45 countries over the last 35 years, globally, building capacity in government with policy reforms and the modernization of technology and operations across government programs. Much of my experience has been working in the global intelligence community, where I have to work on secret and top secret programs and technologies. I hold a NATO top secret clearance. I've been given a Government of Canada Gold Technology Award and the highest award in the federal public service called the Clerk's Award from the Privy Council for my leadership in designing Canada's risk management system for trade arriving at the border post 9/11. I worked for U.S. Customs and Border Protection to help stand up the Office of Anti-Terrorism in Washington, D.C. in the years following the attacks of 9/11. In the last 10 years, I was CEO and founder of a company which built AI solutions for border and trade modernization. My designs focused on using principles of intelligence to measure trust and credibility of data, people, and objects. So when I see something odd in the rollout of a government program, I can diagnose and expose those shortcomings or improprieties quickly using my experience in this area. Believe me, I've got better things to do with my time than sift through thousands of pages of information to get to the bottom of what happened here in Argyle with aquaculture expansion. I didn't want to do this, but I've spent countless hours analyzing documents and emails to corroborate and triangulate what happened here. And I'm not here to hold anybody accountable, but I'm here to summarize what I found in a quick brief and offer you a simple solution, which I thought was a simple solution based on what Councillor Madden had tabled here as a motion that nobody seconded. So as a status, we've heard, what's going on with ADA today. Applications have been received and are being reviewed. Awards for the first 6 locations are imminent. But recent FOIPOP requests that myself and many constituents here in Argyle have initiated have exposed an inherent bias against the public, favoritism and preferred treatment for select oyster farmers, and industry lobbying groups, and numerous conflicts of interest involving MOTA staff and councillors. Council admitted that public consultation was not properly performed at the June 2024 council session. Minister Kent Smith, last August, agreed to perform new public consultations on the 47 remaining locations, but that seems to have changed now. Now they're not going to do them, it seems, on anything, and it's just going to be a final 30-day feedback session from what it sounds like. So, due to the many apparent conflicts of interest, a growing number of Argyle constituents are asking council, or did ask council, to send DFA a letter admitting errors were made, seeking a redo on public consultations for all 53 locations, not just 47, not just some of them. It's got to be all or nothing to make this fair. This is not a request to stop the ADA program. This is only a request to ensure public consultations are performed on all 53 locations. So these are just some of the issues. And I've sent you packages over the last several weeks, and you know what I'm talking about, right? We've sent several emails, and the analysis that comes from myself, many people in this room, and what we've seen in those emails. But there's email evidence that shows that MOTA staff, this is our view, this is our perception, and feel free to debate this or defend against it, but it shows that MOTA staff provided Dion's Oyster Company privileged and special access to the ADA program, including insider knowledge, data, and key information as it developed, which gave Dion's an advantage over us, over any public concerns or other applicants in our view, with undue influence over the ADA map location and the ability to facilitate themselves as the sole bidder. You guys know what that's called? It's called bid rigging. Dion's was included on a decision committee in full bias over the public who have still not been consulted on the Salt Bay location or any ADA location on the map. Evidence confirms that Nolan Dion's the ex-president of the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia. Colton Dion's on the board of directors. Charlene Dion, who worked here as an ADA development officer, is on their board of directors. So in our view, this violates Section 14 in your Code of Conduct for the municipal elected officials made under Section 20 of the Municipal Government Act around fairness. There's just really some inherent bias that's been taking place here that we're not happy about. So emails show that the Dion's were included on an ADA stakeholder committee at inception. We haven't been consulted, right? No one in the public has been fairly consulted to provide feedback on these locations in terms of where they're going to go. Remember, the public is listed as a stakeholder in the MOU between DFA and MOTA. No one from the public was invited to be on the stakeholder committee despite prompts from several residents. Do you know who one of them was? It was me. I asked 2 years ago, and I was promised that I would be part of this and consulted. I was not. I was ignored. I'm not happy. A lot of people aren't happy. Council admitted a failure in performing adequate public consultation for ADA at their June 2024 session last year. I was here. Emails show the Dions had special access and insider knowledge and data to influence MODA and DFA via fellow industry colleague and partner Charlene LeBlanc as she acted in the role of a development officer for the ADA program. She's now an aquaculture farmer and on the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia Board of Directors with Colton Dion. These emails show she was in conflict representing industry and government at the same time. She offered Dions an advantage over others with privileged access, shared data, and facilitated their desired locations to Nova Scotia DFA, and then tested the water in full confirmation bias to support their desired location, all in full conflict. It's blatant and it's egregious. The Dions are now applying for the very same location. This is a conflict of interest. I shouldn't have to tell you guys this. No modern tendering framework allows for a bidder to influence a desired location target and then seek to be awarded the same location. This is called bid rigging or bid fixing and disqualifies the applicant. In Canada, bid rigging is a criminal offense under the Competition Act, specifically Section 47, which carries penalties of fines and imprisonment up to 14 years. Emails show a comfortable relationship between the Dions and Charlene LeBlanc as she facilitated all their requests through MODA and Nova Scotia DFA to position Salt Bay as a desired ADA location Dions would later apply for. I'm not making this up. If you read it, it's in those emails. It's in those packages. This included the provisioning of supporting data in full confirmation bias and building a history of water testing data to ensure the location would become part of the ADA map. Why is that? Dions is currently operating in Salt Bay and seeks to expand its operation considerably. The farm is near their homestead, and they seek the convenience of an approved location next to their home and next to their current equipment and operation. That only makes sense, right? But it's at their convenience, at my inconvenience. It's at the inconvenience of Dale Pache, Andre Lacroix, Michelle Surrette, myself, Andre Lord, everyone that lives between Eelbrook and Rocco Point are going to have to live with this installation between this bay. Email evidence demonstrates an intent to push the aquaculture expansion agenda and lobby government for a new quick administrative approval process that replaces the friction of the Aquaculture Review Board. This was confirmed in the letter tonight from Minister Smith. Emails, media articles, and other documents show that Charlene LeBlanc was unable to properly inoculate herself and manage her conflicts by operating as an aquaculture farmer, municipal government officer, developing the ADA program, and lobbyist for the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia, all at once. No one should be wearing those different hats in any of those positions. It's utter and complete conflict. There are emails that show evidence of improper gifting to receive something in return. I won't go into what they are. Read the evidence. It's there. 126 emails demonstrate that the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia improperly infiltrated and indoctrinated the municipality of the District of Argyle staff and some councillors with a self-serving and biased agenda that helped local members, Dion's Oysters, obtain their desired locations, discourage and minimize public consultation, while building a new friction-free administrative approval process for aquaculture expansion as a replacement to the ARB. The mosaic effect shows the true picture of what was transpiring through the ADA process to push this agenda and lobbying effort forward. MODA, in our view, was manipulated by a well-funded and influential lobbying group to the detriment of Argyle and its constituents. Shockingly, it was found that MODA is a paying member of the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia, a lobbying group. Not only are they using our taxpayer dollars to pay for their membership and financially support this lobbying group, they are further allowing them to influence the rollout of ADA with the least amount of obstacles. This includes discouraging public consultation, which is what happened. Emails between the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia president, the CAO, and the former warden discuss the public as an obstacle to overcome. It's in there. These are the emails. These are the discussions. MODA staff and councillors could be held accountable in our view, who at minimum have violated and infringed on their ethics code of conduct. Staff and councillors were either willing participants in this conflict of interest, demonstrating intent, or unwilling participants who were manipulated, demonstrating incompetence. Either outcome is abysmal. Many emails suggest there are ongoing conflicts of interest indicating that investments have been made by parties which could potentially include MODA staff, councillors, and/or their family members. These emails and names were heavily redacted. You can see this. We sent it to you. This will need to be investigated more closely and resolved if conflicts are exposed. Conflicted MOTA staff and counselors will need to recuse themselves as required. So in summary, we see in those emails between MOTA staff and local aquaculture farmers that they demonstrated a selection of locations that were influenced by industry applicants and accepted by MOTA and DFA. There was no science behind these decisions, it was only a perception. Once the location was picked by the applicant, MOTA then only tested the water to suggest science supported the decision. This was in full confirmation bias and counters the scientific method. Emails show that Dion's Oysters had full insight as an insider and ADA stakeholder committee member. With other prospective applicants on the outside looking in, Dion's used their insider knowledge to influence their desired location, negotiate and rig who would bid or who would not bid on other locations, secure government funding, and discourage public engagement and other frictions or annoyances that might delay or derail their business expansion plans in Salt Bay. This was all done with the support of the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia, DFA, MOTA staff, and some councillors. There was an inconsistency in when proposed ADA map locations were provided to interested applicants and the public. So there's an unfair advantage there as well. It was provided to those that received the information earlier certainly got an advantage. So the public's very concerned here with the many conflicts of interest that have been exposed showing recent FOIPOP requests. If DFA continues with the recommendations on ADA locations as selected by MOTA, then the ADA program foundation collapses, as these decisions were based on bid rigging and fixing. In other words, cheating of locations between oyster farmers, Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia, and MOTA staff. The ADA program will never be accepted by the public under these circumstances, so you need to think about that. So what's the way forward here, right? We thought it was with the motion that Councillor Malcolm Madden was putting forth tonight that no one seconded. So everybody here is really disappointed. Many conflicts highlighted here today could have been resolved, in our view, if Council agreed to send a letter to DFA requesting a redo on the 53 locations that we didn't feel we were consulted on. We felt it was the fair thing to do for all stakeholders, and it would be a sign of good faith to your constituents. We thought it was your only option. So what's the alternative now, right? Because you didn't do it, some locations are going to will undergo public consultation and some will not. Again, it's bias, right? It's just this imbalance all the time, you know, with the decisions that are being made here, and tonight is an example. And when there's an imbalance, you have to ask yourselves, are you violating Section 14, Schedule A of your Ethics Code of Conduct on fairness? We encourage you to read it because we've been reading it, and it looks pretty obvious that this is just not fair. So for any, you know, we thought that for any councillor or staff member here today that didn't agree with sending a letter to DFA, why is the better option, you know, to have a record of violating an Ethics Code of Conduct, Section 14? It just, it doesn't make sense to us, right? We're confused. You represent us, right? We thought this was the right thing to do. We thought this was an easy relief valve. We thought this was an off-ramp that you could take. We were only asking for a letter be sent to DFA, right? Requesting public redo of consultations, not end ADA, not stall it, not delay it. We'd work with you to expedite that, obviously, to make that happen, but we never got the chance during ADA, and we haven't got the chance since, and it appears we're never going to get the chance because everything has pushed the game. In this game, we're pushed to the end state, right, of being forced to provide comment in writing in the final 30 days. Anything we say, do you think that's going to change anything that took them 6 years to get here? Nothing's going to change. We know that. It's just going to be a formality. You're going to write a letter and provide your insight. They'll take it and say, thanks for your information, but nothing's going to change. It's not going to change the nature of how ADA is going to be rolled out. So in our view, you know, we have no choice, right? These documents are available. The FOIPOP information is on your website. These presentations, these emails, this analysis that we've put together that we thought just invoked common sense and good logic, you know, is not being interpreted that way. So what do we do next? I mean, I'm talking to people in the community. They're saying, we just have to release this to the wider public, Chris, right? We have to send this to the media. Let them deal with it. Put pressure on that way because we're just not being listened to, right? There's just the inherent bias that's at play here is overwhelming, and it's outrageous. So, you know, what happens next? It just seems to us that, you know, there's the threat of an investigation or an audit from the Nova Scotia Ombudsman, perhaps, the Privacy Commissioner, or the Auditor General. Are these the only options that come next because you won't listen to us? When you won't give us a chance to speak before a deliberation and you push us to this moment of the meeting when it's too late? Maybe I've been convincing. Maybe you're thinking now, wow, why didn't we have this guy speak before we, you know, decided if anyone was going to second the motion? I don't know. And I know some people probably think I'm a lunatic here, but we're just not happy. We're just reaching a point of ultimate frustration where we're not being heard, and you represent us here. We are your constituents, and we're not being heard or listened to. So, you know, these issues are a serious matter. We thought they were easily resolved by asking, you know, to send the DFA letter and redo public consultation, and it's not happening. So I appreciate your time. I'm sorry that I went longer than the 5 minutes, but thank you so much for allowing me to put this on record and hearing what I had to say. And if there's ever that moment in future sessions or decisions or discussions around ADA, please factor this information, these emails that we've provided you as a package going forward. And again, we're trying to do this in good faith and trying to make sure that the right thing unfolds for everybody, because this is not about ending ADA. It's about promoting economic growth in Argyle for businesses like the Dion's and others, but doing it in a way so that it balances with lobster fishing, it balances with rock weeding, it balances with the tourism industry, and it's done in a way that these locations are put in non-residential areas. All of this has to balance, but you have to have all those stakeholders at the table, not just meetings with lobster fishermen, as an example, not just meetings with oyster farmers and then declaring them as public consultation. You can't wear both hats. If you're industry, you're on one side. If you're on the public and you're affected negatively, you're on the other side, but you can't be both. There's just this ongoing concern around a conflict of interest of certain groups wearing hats for everybody, but there really needs to be a division in terms of who's representing who, and all the stakeholders have to be at the table to achieve balance. Balance is what we're looking for. Balance is not what we're seeing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to have an opportunity to come to the mic to speak?
I wasn't going to do this. I know my wife's sitting back there cringing right now. My name's Mike Scott. I live in Plymouth all my life, District 2. Just to speak a bit on the consultation process, right from the start with the notice of public consultation, you'd read on the notices, we're looking to consult on the ADA process in Lobster Bay and Pimlico Harbor. Now, under my understanding of the boundaries of Lobster Bay are from the mouth of the tributaries out to the ocean. And here we are, from what I understand, 19 sites were proposed to Fisheries and Oceans, which included many of the tributaries in the municipality of Argyle, the Tusket River, the Argyle River, Salt Bay. All these sites, out of the 19 proposed, Fisheries and Oceans come back with 53. So was that part of the consultation process? 53? No, it wasn't. As a resident on the Tusket River, was the Tusket River mentioned in any of the public consultations? No, it was Lobster Bay and Pimlico Harbor. Many of you that were on council before maybe were privy to that information prior to the public consultation meetings as to the extent of the ADA process, but the greater public was not. I've heard many things like it's up to you to watch council meetings to see what's going on. Well, this is why we have councilors also. Councilors should be coming back and tell us what's going on in our communities. what is affecting us. I know as volunteer in the community and let's say, president of the cemetery committee, and I've been on the community hall committee and do the veteran flag committee at program at the cemetery. Twice a year we have meetings. The community hall meeting and the cemetery meeting, and every time we ask a councilor, what's going on with municipality? What is happening? We heard lots of talk about wind farms. Oh, it's going to be a windfall for the municipality. We've heard lots of talk about sidewalks, and oh, that's another thing. I was on the sidewalk committee. We heard lots of talk about sidewalks. Not one peep of oyster sites in the Tuscan River. To me, that's disappointing. Right? That's our elected officials that are supposed to be coming back to us and telling us what's going on in our community. Now, the other thing that, and I'm not as eloquent a speaker as my colleague Chris was and into the facts, but going through the Freedom of Information emails and requests, and what I find really disturbing, and I've sent it all to you, there was 2 emails that stood out to me. One was that during the public meetings of the ADA, professional facilitators were being hired to direct the conversation and so that there wasn't proper public consultation. If you don't want to hear what your citizens and your ratepayers want to say, then why would you hire a facilitator to direct that conversation? Spin doctors is what they call them, right? Because they can spin the conversation any way they want. And to hear that our municipality is paying people to misdirect people at the public consultation meetings, that's disturbing to me. And then to hear that an association that is deeply invested in this program, the Aquaculture Association of Nova Scotia, has actually offered to hire these spin doctors for the public meetings. Is that the kind of municipal council we want, or the municipality we want? It's not what I want, for sure. After that, they've even requested, in case the anti-people, which is the citizens and the ratepayers, show up, can we have RCMP contact information in case things get out of hand? That's not right. You're elected officials of the constituents of the Municipality of Argyle. That's us. And we should have our voice heard, and it should be heard without the use of facilitators. If you want the actual understanding of what the residents want and what they do not want, then you have to actually listen to us. And that's not happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to?
Yeah, actually, I would. I am not a political person. I'm not a professional speaker. I'm just a regular person. Sorry? My name is Carrie Lawson. My great-great-grandfather was the lighthouse keeper at Whitehead in Argyle. My great-grandfather, Daniel Hamilton, was an international sea captain based out of Argyle. The old anchoring is still there at the old house. I'm related to the Bork family that made their way over to Sluice Point. I have spent the last 35 years bringing people struggling with mental health issues, sailing in Argyle. Our old family cottage, built in 1914, was the boat club, sailing club in Argyle. So my priority has been bringing people to nature, connecting people to nature. We swim. I was swimming today in the Tuscan River, 3 dunks, full under, first day of spring. I was swimming last week in the Tuscan River 3 times. I bring youth swimming in the Tuscan River. We go sailing. We swim at Abrams River. We swim at Rocco Point. We swim at Argyle for the last 35 years. We've been sailing around the farms, the fish farms that are already in Argyle, okay? We've been teaching the children about the fish farms in Argyle, okay? I understand that we need to move forward, people need jobs, so on and so forth. I am so disheartened to have had to find out from friends that those fish farms that we've sailed around in Argyle are possibly making their way in the Tuscan River, where I bring people fly in from all over North America to my house in Tuscan to events that we have, all based on mental health. Youth that are on their phones all the time, disconnected from nature, are coming. The government flies me up to Nunavut, where I work with residential school survivors and their families, connecting back to nature. They come to my home in Tuscan. I've talked about the dark skies. We've been around those. All I would like is the respect of being able to find out if these oyster farms are going to affect the work I do. I haven't even been able to find that out. Nobody has been able to talk to me and tell me what it means. You know, all I keep hearing is, oh, it's going ahead. There's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. It's going ahead. Like, I'm away. I have to go away with this work that I do in the field of mental health. So I'm not here for all the political steps. So finally, I mean, I was supposed to be away, but I changed things, so I'm here tonight. I didn't know if I was going to say anything, but, you know, I'm speaking from life. I'm speaking from children, from youth, all these things. Anyways, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Sure.
Madam Chair, councillors, my name's Bruce Hancock. I'm the Executive Director of Aquaculture for the Nova Scotia Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture. And thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I just want to cover a couple of points. One is that our department is the lead regulator for aquaculture. That means we're the ones that issue the license and the lease under the authority of the Fisheries and Coastal Resources Act. I think that's a really important point to make. The municipality has been an excellent partner in developing the ADA, but ultimately the decision on issuing a license or the lease, that authority falls with the Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture. In various instances, depending on the type of license and lease, that decision-making is delegated to either an independent aquaculture review board or to our aquaculture administrator. So I think that's a really important distinction when we're talking about the work that was done by MODA, which was governed under our MOU. And to be very clear, that process was about identifying sites for an ADA. And I think before I talk about that a little bit more, I would like to talk a little bit about the licensing process outside of an ADA. So the ADA was a pilot project. It was the first time that it's been done. So all of our licensing to date goes through what I would call our conventional licensing process. The locations that people apply for in the conventional licensing process are picked by the applicant, so by industry. So they do their work. They decide where they want to go. Often it's near where they live. It's where they're farming already, and they want to expand their farm. But they are the ones that say, I would like to make that farm there. They then come to our department. They apply for an option to look in that area. That authority to start the process resides with our minister. But that original step to select the location they're going to go is from industry. I won't go through all the details of the process, but what I can say is the amendments that passed through in September and that we're writing regulations to support right now, which is spoken about in the minister's letter. As that application is made, there's a review that takes place, and the opportunity for public comment is a 30-day public comment period, and then a decision that's made by the aquaculture administrator. So in the ADA process, what we are doing is, instead of waiting for unsolicited applications to come in, we initiated an exercise where we went out and looked at various criteria in the area, which that area was established before the project even began. And using those criteria, we assessed the area for the opportunity to do aquaculture. We then reached out to about 10 other government departments and agencies, both federal and provincial, to get their feedback on areas where they said, you know, there could be sensitivities, you could avoid that. We also did MODA led an engagement process where they worked with different stakeholders. Both of these things are well documented in the municipality's report on their engagements that they did, and also by the department on the work that we did to advance the ADA. But I'll be very clear, that role that MODA played, which again is outlined in the MOU, was about proactively identifying areas for aquaculture development. It was not meant as an adjudication of a space to see which person should use that space versus another. It was about exploring opportunity for aquaculture development. So I understand, and it was quite an exhaustive presentation that was given earlier, but to be honest with you, I do not see anywhere where there's a conflict of interest or collusion in this. The reality is, if you look at the MOU was about identifying areas of opportunity. How would you identify areas if you were not working with the industry to identify those areas? The other point, and this goes back to why I talked about the application process, is that the opportunity to actually make comments on applications that are considered by the decision maker have yet to be made. So when these applications are made, very clear, all 53 of those locations, those are not approved sites. Those are simply areas that have been identified through the process that's been laid out, that is transparent, that's on our webpage, it's on MODA's webpage, as areas that, with that process that we used, those areas came out. So through a competitive call for proposals, people can put in a proposal for that, but that still does not mean that they get that site. That only means that they have the right to apply for that site. They have applied. It's going to be reviewed by our department, and there will be a 30-day public comment period, and then a decision will be made by the aquaculture administrator on those sites. And the point I'm making by talking about the licensing process right now, that is no different. So the opportunity to provide your feedback on an application is no more, no less than what the licensing process for shellfish will be going forward. The other piece that I would like to address here too is there was a comment made that the minister had backtracked on a commitment that was made in the summer, and that is certainly not the case. The commitment that was made in the summer is there would be no additional calls for proposals made until we had a chance to meet with council and discuss how we can improve communication and engagement going forward. There was no commitment to redo other sites. So I just want to be clear, we're not going back to the beginning of an engagement process for those remaining ADA sites, but there is a commitment to engage and try to improve our communication. And that's another point that I would also like to touch on right now. I recognize the fact that people have some concerns, and I really appreciate the comments from the last presenter that talked about her concerns about how she can access the water and use the water. And I think looking forward, as we move into the next stages of this, that is where we need to do a better job of communicating to people about what this means in their community and how we can make this thing move together in a way that benefits everybody. I think that's all the comments I want to make, and thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other speakers?
Do I have one just follow-up comment?
Hold on. I want to let others have a chance to speak first. Anyone else? Huh? Okay. Okay, nobody else? All right, come on up.
Just a quick comment. Am I on?
Yes.
You're good? And that is, I think it was through Dalhousie Research on the aquaculture industry in PEI, and there was a comment from a resident there on the aquaculture industry, and her comment was, we thought it was a good idea to share the waters with the aquaculture industry. But she says now, there's no sharing. It's all take. They don't do consultation. They spread their oyster farms. And she says, we now have no trust for the oyster industry or the government. Thank you. That's where we're going.
CAO Muse.
Just a couple clarifying points here. First of all, that's what question period is for, is to have an open dialogue. And just a couple of clarifying points. So there was a couple of comments made about hiring third individuals to do stakeholder engagement. There were actually two different situations where a firm was hired. The first, we hired WSP to assist us with the open houses that we had in both Glenwood and Tuscot here, as well as other public engagement opportunities, which in and of themselves are probably not, in and of themselves, if I pick one, it's probably not, if I pick going to retail stores as one, that's one of a multitude of things that they did. And some of which was designed to increase exposure, not necessarily for public engagement per se. There's different types of engagement. So they would have been hired to assist us along that line for sure. The reference to the RCMP and other commentary around public, neither of those comments referred to public engagement led by us. There was an Aquaculture Association open house and it was designed for people that might be interested in investing in that area. We did not, we participated, we attended it, but we did not organize that, and that's well documented. And that meeting was led by Aquaculture of Nova Scotia, and there are emails and communications with us that talk about, what about this and what about that, because they don't know the community very well. And so that meeting, certainly there were discussions about RCMP. That is a true statement, but it was not in reference to a meeting of Argyle. It was a meeting of Aquaculture Association. So we really can't comment on that. One of the points I feel like is missed in all this is that, and maybe it wasn't missed. I just want to reiterate that there was a motion made in 2024 before the election, and it was to write to the province of Nova Scotia to put a pause on the 47 sites that had not yet been called by them. Okay, so they have a process to which once they call a location to be applied for, once that happens, it's entirely their process. Before that, what the previous council agreed to was, look, there are concerns here that we believe that were raised by the residents that have to be raised to the province before we go into any further applications. So that was approved and accepted by the province. I believe Mr. Hancock made reference to that. So there will be, outside of the 5 that are currently in a system that are entirely in the hands of the province, the other locations, there's no, our confirmation from the province is that there's no plan for those to go out anytime soon. And they would have to have further consultation because, and I think that's the province reacting to say, okay, look, there are ongoing concerns here. And so they don't want to ignore that, and that's why they agreed to that particular motion. So I just want to clarify those 2 things, and that's all I have to say on that.
Okay. Okay, so we will close question period. We're going to now, 15 on our agenda. We do have 2 items in camera that we will have to discuss, so we are going to, can somebody make a motion that we go in camera? It moved by Councillor Bourque. Do we have a seconder to that? Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. All right.